welcome to another edition of Beginner Breakdown. Today I had the pleasure of playing a beginner in 3 games. So we're going to see what the beginner did right, see what he did wrong, and also see what I did right and see what I did wrong. In the first match I had the white pieces, so it starts out pretty standard. E4, the king's pawn opening, black counters, E5. Pretty standard for beginners, the double king pawn opening. So white brings out his knight to F3 and black plays knight to F6. This is called the Petrov defense. It's pretty good if black can play it correctly. So after knight takes pawn, an idea might be he took one of my pawns, I better capture a pawn back. Knight to F6. The knight on F6 takes the pawn on E4. Now, this falls for a very simple trap that a lot of people have seen before. So, white brings out his queen to E2. This E file is now the action file. Well, both kings are on it, the queens and 2 knights. So now if this knight moves, he'll be in trouble. So he tries to defend the knight with D5. We then attack the knight, forcing it off the E file. And now, at home, what should white play to crush black? You got it, Jim? What? Knight to C6. Now the king is in check, a discovered check, and his queen's attacked. So if he tries to move his queen, we'll just take it. A lot of people say, well, what about knight? Knight takes F7, I get a pawn, I'm doing great. Well, true, the king is in check, and true, our knight is attacking the queen, but look at what the king can do to get out of it. King takes F7. Okay, so we want to watch out for that. Okay, but amazingly, my opponent did not play into this variation. He plays the correct move. D6. Attacks the knight. Now if I move my knight back, which I do, and now if he captures, and now I play queen to E2, what move can he play to save his knight forever and not? So if he tries to move D5 again, why does that lose? Do you know? You know what white would play to win this knight? Just attack it, right? So this knight is in a pin, so we want to attack pin pieces. So we're going to play D3, and now there's no way this knight can move. So he's dead. All right? So what move can black make to save his knight in this position? D5 won't work. F5 and bishop to F5 fall to the same issues, right? We'll just play D3 and win it. Do you know? Does he know? A queen to E7. Okay, so now if we play D3, he'll be like, okay, I'm safe. And nothing gained, nothing lost. But in the game, it goes D6, I retreat back to F3. And black, unfortunately, does not take the pawn. We needed to take the pawn. He plays knight to C6 to develop the piece. So now we protect the pawn with knight to C3. Bishop comes out to attack the knight to pin the queen. But we can just play bishop to E2 and break the pin. Black plays A6. So in this position, if you were playing black at home, yeah, it's true you're down a pawn, but all's not lost. You probably want to get your pieces off the back row and then get castled, okay? A6 doesn't really fall into any of that stuff. So now we can play D4, and now we got our pawns all nice. So when black plays d5, push. And unfortunately, at this point, black makes an unfortunate mistake. So when your pawn is when you're being attacked, so you see your knight is under attack here, a simple thing to do is, okay, he's attacking my knight, let's move the knight, okay? We don't need to try to do anything crazy here. And unfortunately, the craziness doesn't get too good. All right. And bishop to e7 protects the knight, but he was under attack, so we probably wanted to move it. So pawn takes f6. And we'll take the knight now, but unfortunately, we'll take this pawn, threatening pawn takes the queen. So queen takes it, putting the bishop in a pin. So now white will have double pawns, but it is okay because he's got a great material advantage. So that's all right. So queen to d6. So now we can attack it. He does not take it. He does not take it, yeah. He retreats his queen to d7. Queen takes. So there's actually a pretty cool way to protect this rook. Castle, okay? Now at least you're safe, and you'll get to play on for at least another 10 moves. Unfortunately, by playing rook to f8, it's all over. All right, it's just too much is going on, and you're never going to survive this. Okay, so that's the end of game one. Okay, so let's look at where he made his downfall. All right, so the opening, so far so good, but he doesn't take back the pawn. It's always good, because now I'll have a center pawn there forever. So it brings out the bishop there, and now a6, okay? He didn't try to get castled. He played a6, and you can't be wasting time in the opening, okay? All right. New game, all right. So, but, so he lost game one of our series. All right, no big deal. There's always game two. Okay, in game two, he plays better, or maybe I play worse. I don't know. We'll have to see. You be the judge, all right? All right, so I have black in this game. All right, so white plays e4, black plays e5, knight f3, knight c6. I usually don't play e5, but I thought just for illustrative purposes and give my opponent a chance, I would play it. So he plays knight to c3, which is kind of slow, right? I mean, you want to get your bishop out either to c4 or b5, attacking the knight, all right? Knight to c3, true, it protects the pawn, but it doesn't get you any step closer to castling, and it's just not the best, not the best. So knight to f6. So now bishop to b5 attacks the knight. So I see a lot of people freak out when they get this knight attack. Like, oh my God, let's pin my knight. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Or I got to attack you. You're so annoying. It's like, well, if he really wants to take it, it's just going to happen, okay? So you don't need to really do anything about that. All right, so just I want to get my pieces developed and castled. So let's just stick with that plan. So bishop to c5, and now he plays a3. So he didn't do anything to stop me from castling, so I castle. So now white plays rook to b1. This plan is probably not advisable. He could play b4 anyway right now if he really want to play b4. He doesn't have to double prepare it, okay? a3 was sufficient enough. He should be getting castled and safe. So rook to b1. So now I should probably try to get my bishop in the game by playing either d6, because it's not a pin anymore, But instead, I do end up playing knight up here, which is not the best. So knight to d5, or yeah, knight to d4. And so now he plays his move b4. So I retreat. All right, so it's pretty simple. If your piece is getting attacked, don't try to do anything crazy. You can just retreat, right? All right. So now he plays bishop to c4, getting his bishop on this nice diagonal here. So now I take, all right, and he takes. All right, so why did I do that? Am I the worst chess player of all time? I'm just giving pieces for pawns. Don't answer that at home, please. All right, so so there's a fork. There's two pieces, a file apart on the same rank. Boom, pawn fork, d5. Okay. So now he's like, all right, I'm at least going to get a pawn for it, which is good. Yes, he could have done something crazier.
So can you play f5 here?
Oh, yes. In this position.
After bishop d3.
Yeah, bishop d3, f5.
I thought this was better.
Knight takes d4.
And then
So now,
that's why he played rook e1. After bishop d4, it's the other rook.
so now f5 and bishop to d3. And so now e4. And unfortunately, I am not going to win my piece back. Even though he is in this fork again, white can make a move greater or equal to this threat. And the threat is way greater. So everybody figure out how we can get out of this. So there's a couple different ways, actually. He could just take the knight. Or better, he could check. All right. Always good to check. So the king moves over. And now he can move the knight to safety. Knight to e5. Now he's threatening knight to f7, check. Even though I'm playing a beginner, I decided I'm going to play for tricks. All right, he's just doing too good. All right, so queen to h4. So I'm hoping that he can't resist the urge to check me. All right, then I would take, he would take. And so I sacrifice an exchange, but I think I'm going to get checkmate. Can everybody see how I can maybe checkmate him or win his queen? Julian can.
Knight c2.
Knight to c2, no.
No, knight c2.
No.
Queen takes c2.
Oh, yeah.
So Julian gets it wrong. So maybe he should be in this class after all. So let's see if the ultimate beginner can figure this out. What's the other check this knight has? So I can play knight to f3 check. And then yeah, if he just takes with the pawn, boom, checkmate. And if he takes with the queen, I'll be doing fine too, because I'll just take, so forth. All right, so I break one of my own rules. Never play hope chess, okay? Especially when you're so much better than your opponent, right? What's the point? So he finds the right move. This is the one move I was hoping he wouldn't make. Of course, he plays it, g3. So now I have to go back to f6, all right? So now he plays f4. And I forget about the rule en passant. Unbelievable. And so I decide, this guy's just giving me too much trouble. I'm going to play knight f3 check.
So you want to sit in the class?
Yeah, all right. So he moves his king to f1. He should have obviously taken, pawn takes, queen takes, and then I think he would be up a pawn against me. But I would have this nice check. And that would give me all the compensation I would need for that pawn. All right, so f4. So knight f3 check, yeah. And so my opponent never castled in these games, and he's letting me check him so much, all right? So he needs to watch out for that, and threatening all these cool checkmates and all this. So now I take, and now I'm up the pawn and crushing. All right. Oh, unfortunately, my opponent does not take back here. But let's not laugh at him too much here. If you weren't going to take back here, what move could you play that would be kind of cool here? Bishop to b2, putting the knight in a pin, activating your pieces. But I mean, I would have probably just taken back. But bishop b2 might actually be the best move here.
I would play bishop b2.
The bishop b2 is the best move. It's been confirmed. But unfortunately, he doesn't do either of those. He plays the move d3. All right. So now I'm like, okay, I've got to get my knight free. So take, and now he's threatening to box in my bishop here. So what do you think I do? I move my bishop, okay? How hard is it, okay? So if they're threatening a piece somehow to win a piece, try to move that piece, all right? So bishop d4, attack it, all right? But unfortunately, it's not defended. So bishop takes c3. Rook to b3 attacks the bishop. All right, but remember, it's still protected by the queen, so we're doing okay. So bishop to e6. Look, get everybody in the same line. All right. So he sees that I'm attacking this pawn, so he should try to protect it, I guess. Queen to e2 would probably be the best. Okay, but instead he plays h3.
After queen e2, doesn't queen d4 just win?
Most likely. All right. They're saying after queen to e2 here, queen to d4 might be pretty good. But I don't know. Oh, and then it all crumbles. It all crumbles down for white. But I mean, pretty much everything is good for white here. All right. Or excuse me, for black. So h3. So check. King f2. Now I got a cool move. It's called an intermezzo. So everybody's expecting me, oh, just take it, you're so good. But I moved my rook, my last piece that was just sitting around, into the game and attack the queen. So he's got to play queen to c2, keep the guy protected. And now I play the check. King to g2. Bishop takes. So now he decides it's okay to take back. And now you just push this pawn to victory. e3, king to f3. It's never good to run toward all your opponent's big bad pieces. King to g2. King to e2, right. And I decide I see mate. I don't even want the rook. Check. King takes e3. And how can you put the finishing touches on this game? I'll give you a hint. This rook's doing a great job. This queen's doing a great job. Who's the only guy not doing a great job? This guy. Oh, protecting the f pawn. All right.
Hey, you just removed the defender.
Yeah. So check. Mate. All right. So that one, he lasted about 30 moves, and he did pretty good. So let's do a quick review, see exactly where he went wrong. Because at one point, he might have been doing okay. So e4, e5, knight f3. So castle, okay, so this was a bad idea, rook to b1. Should have get castled, okay?
You know what's funny? Is that after rook b1, if you go back, after rook b1, it's sort of a funny idea because you had to move f5, and then after like knight d4, queen d4, you're on the rook and mate.
All right. So at this point, he's doing okay here, okay? So this is the critical point. He plays f4, which probably wasn't the best move, but I make a mistake here. So knight to f3 check. He needs to just take, pawn takes, queen takes, rook check, and then he can just back up his bishop, and he'll be up a pawn and doing okay. But when he does not take back the knight, that's where he crumbles, all right? So just those slightest mistakes add up. Okay, so this is game 3 of the match, all right? And this time I have the white pieces again. So let's see if he can do all right here. All right, so e4, black plays not e6. He plays e5. It's debatable. So now I remember from the last game. He plays knight f3, I play knight f6, okay? So we always want to be getting better. All right, so I decide I want to trick him, okay? I want to go into the fried liver, where my bishop's here, his knight's on f6, and my knight's on g5, okay? That's what I want, okay? So a good way to try to get people to play that, is to play bishop to c4, because it's such a natural move to just play, he plays bishop there, I'll play my knight to f6, which is exactly what happens, okay? So now, knight f3, I'm one hop away from getting my dream scenario. So now if he plays knight to c6, look at what just happened, okay? So if you really want to achieve this position and you're not sure you can get it with your opponent, try playing bishop to c4 on your second move instead of knight to f3. It will trick him. All right. All right, but he doesn't play knight to c6. He plays the move. No questions at this time. He plays bishop to b4. This is not a good spot for your bishop, period. It wants to be on c5, attacking the f-pawn. Okay, because it's so easy for me to just attack it. But I don't even want to attack it. I want to get up here. All right, but I don't play there, obviously, because if I do that, he could just castle. I want to take free material. Knight takes pawn, okay? And so now we get kind of a variation of the fried liver attack. Knight takes f7 now. King takes, queen to f3 check. And so now if he plays king to e6, I will castle, and then I'm going to check him. And it's you can see this is not very safe for black. Okay? So unfortunately, he makes an even worse move than king to e6. He goes back home to e8, where he thinks he's safe. Okay? And everybody, okay, so I have 2 attackers of this knight, and he's got 1 defender. So now I can take with the queen, and I'm threatening checkmate. Or I could take with the bishop, and I'm also threatening checkmate. Now, if you've been following our lectures at home, you would know you got to take with the bishop. Because remember, if you're on the attack, don't trade pieces. Okay? Who's on the attack? Whitest. So take with the bishop. Okay? Now I'm threatening checkmate. What should black do to get out of this checkmate? Queen to e7 check. And so, but unfortunately, he's a newcomer, so I'm going to attack your bishop, and game over, okay? All right. So now, those were my games against a beginner, okay? So, not the best, not the worst, but now I got to play the champ. A couple days ago, okay? So this is a guy that's a little bit, he's higher rated than me, but just because he's higher rated doesn't mean he's better than me, okay? He's bigger than me, but not better. The champ. Yeah. The champ is Preston. He's our resident guy who likes to give the grandmasters a tough time. So sometimes they send in the beginner breakdown coach to set him in his place, okay? So here we go. So white starts out d4. I'm white in the 3-game match, and black plays e5. Okay, so just take it. All right. I mean, how hard is it? All right. So black plays knight to c6. He wants to get his pawn back. So knight f3 protects the pawn. Queen to e7. Now a lot of people might be like, oh, you got to play bishop f4 and just hold on, try to hold on this pawn forever, okay? Not a good idea. Just
Bishop f4 is when
no, just give it back. It's like you want it, you got it, okay? Knight takes, queen takes, and now we'll just develop normally, okay? So c6, bishop g2, d5, castle. See that? But move 8. White's castled and safe. Black, all his pieces besides his queen are on the back row. He's got that going for him, whatever that is. Which, watch this. Bishop to f5. Now just break it open. See, when you are castled and safe and your opponent isn't, you have to do whatever it takes to break open the center, okay? Because if you just goof around, bishop here or something, you can't make any progress, okay? So just break open the center and good things will happen. Pawn takes, knight takes e4. So he's like, oh yeah, you just gave me a free knight, all right? Bishop takes e4. Bishop takes, okay? So the same thing as in that Petrov defense that we saw earlier. If black plays queen takes bishop here, it's not good because rook goes to e1 and it's a bad pin, okay? All right, so he's not going to take back, okay? He sees it. And he plays bishop to d6, not threatening checkmate, okay? So now bishop to f4. And so now he's mad, all right? So when you're mad, you're going to do stupid things. So queen takes, even though he sees it, rook to e1. And it's not going to last very long here. Yep. Now we just because we're up a lot of material, we need to just keep the pedal to the metal. Queen to d2, putting this bishop in a pin. Rook to d8, take with the big piece. And how can we get the finishing touches on this? Anybody? Rook to d1, loses a queen. Yeah, you never want to stop short. You got to go all the way. e1, check. Remember, checks.
And then you have
and then we just.
I would play rook e7 because I want my opponent to suffer.
Yeah, so now we can take even more of his material. But however we do it. All right, so white got castled quick. Then he broke open the center, and he easily won. But let's give Preston, I guess. We'll let him get back into the match, I guess, here. He got the white pieces in game 2, and he was really mad. So you never want to play somebody when they're really mad because they're going to be playing on emotion, and sometimes that can be good. That can be good. And so let me flip the board here. And so Preston starts out e4. And I can't believe I play e5, but I do. Okay, knight f3, knight f6. So I've tried to get into the Petrov defense because I know how to play it. But bishop to c4. Or actually, he plays the weak move, knight to c3. Bishop c5, bishop to c4. So black gets castled. So I achieved my objective pretty quick because I knew Preston was mad and wanted to attack me. So I got castled quick. But sometimes just because you're in a castle doesn't mean they're not going to come and get you, because now Preston knows where I'm going to be for the rest of the game. All right, so knight to c6, bishop to b3. And I make a mistake here. I play knight to d4, okay? And that drops a pawn, okay? Knight takes e4. But I got rid of his light square bishop, but it's probably not worth a full pawn for that. So rook to e8, and white protects with d4. Bishop to d6, and now he'll play f4. All right. So now look at where my bishop and knight are, okay? And look at where this e pawn is. So I should be aware of this, but I'm not, okay? So I make a rather strange move, b5, and now he's got a tactic. He takes this pawn, and now when I take back, he gets the pawn fork, okay? You never really want to fall for a pawn fork. I mean, it's pretty elementary and not very good. So I continue with my plan of b4. So he just moves his knight. Bishop to e7. So pawn takes, bishop takes. And now Preston sees a check. Queen to h5. So I retreat back to g8. So now what do you think Preston does? He's got a pretty good move here. You see it, Stephen? What is it? Yeah. Just look for the checks. Yeah, so if anybody could tell me what I was thinking with my b5, b4 plan, I'd really like to know. But all it did was hurt me, right? All right. So you got to know what you're doing before you just willy-nilly. So king f8. So he takes my rook. Now I try to block in his guy with c6. He gets his knight, attacks my rook. And it's not going very well. Not very going well. But I get a check in, so I'm feeling all right now. King to h1. Always check if you can. After he checked me, I actually went to h8. So now I can move my rook to f8. And so now he gets his bishop off the back row. Queen here. Yep, he got it. Ooh. So do I really miss the move c5 here? Come on. All right, so sometimes we got to look at the computer to make sure everything's going okay. Yep, so even though I'm really mad that I missed the move c5, the computer said I would still be down by 9 points. So I don't think I should really beat myself up for missing that. All right, but c5, it kind of breaks the defense of the knight here, okay? Well, but all right, but I can get over it. All right, I put my king back on g8. It's very important. If you look at all the games that all the guys have won, all of these rooks got in the action, all the players got to play. Well, usually the loser is just, those pieces are just at home, like, not playing, really. You know, so if you can play with more pieces than your opponent, you're doing pretty good. Bishop to a6. And now, how does Preston humiliate me? Jim, you gotta pay attention. Get this, get this. White has mate in 2 and you wouldn't have any idea. You probably say, oh man, my queen's lost. Oh man, I guess I gotta go do more trigonometry. Oh. What we got? What we got? White to move, mate in 2. Or should he just be, man, my queen's stuck, it's trapped. Just take the rook. Oh, I'd love to play you any day of the week. Just take the rook. All right, queens for rook. And then, what do you have? Some kind of saving grace here? Then yeah, all right. The only legal check. Well, you got this kind of checks, but these are the good checks. Checkmate. All right, game over. All right. So now the series is tied 1-1, and we got pivotal game 3, decisive game 3, to determine who's the champion. If I can find it, though. Might as well pull. Oh my God, I leave game 3 at home. All right, here it is. Here's the final game of the match. All right, so Preston saw that his e5 is garbage, so he decided not to play it. d4, d5, c4, knight f6, knight to c3, e6. All right, blocks in his bishop. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if we're white and we're playing, we never want to take this and let his bishop free. All right, we want to keep this bishop on c8 a joke piece the whole game. Okay, so let's see if we can accomplish that. So bishop to f4, bishop to d6, bishop g3. We don't really care about these double pawns. Okay, it's kind of cool. Just take my word on it. All right, so black gets castle. All right, so he's feeling pretty good here. Interesting. So he gets castled. All right, so knight to f3, but we'll just develop like we normally would. Pawn takes c4. All right, you never really want to take on c4 when you're in this system as black, okay? Because it allows white to do a very simple thing, e4, right? Now my pawns are all great, and I'm threatening the devastating pawn fork here, okay? So, but he should see that he's in a pawn fork, or possibly, so he takes. Okay, so now my H file is open, and I'm hitting this crucial H7 square, okay? So now I can think about trying to get checkmates up here, all right? All right, so he decides he's going to try to keep the pawn with b5. So I don't even know if that move is good. I mean, can't I just take it anyway? Oh, and he'll get my e pawn, okay? So that's why you got to think things out in chess. Okay, so b5, queen to c2. So I'm already envisioning checkmate ideas, okay? e5, remove the defender. All right, easy enough. All right, so bishop to b7. I'm all excited now. So now I play e5, and the game's pretty much already over. All right, b4. So now we can just take, right? And if he takes our knight, checkmate. He takes here. So you see, just because you're in a castle doesn't mean you're automatically safe. And especially you don't want open lines coming toward your castle here, all right? So this game is pretty much a wash here. You can't even take it back because it's still checkmate. So what's the only legal move? Well, not legal, but what's the only move that doesn't lose any more material? G6, yep. All right. G6. So knight to e4. Bishop takes, queen takes. So now I'm threatening the rook, knight to d7. I bet you everybody in the audience can shout out what I do here. We just had to guess. Even though it's not even that good. Yeah, queen h4, trying to threaten checkmate, right? So he takes with the knight. Let's try to threaten checkmate again, okay? All the kind of cool stuff. So knight to h5. Bishop takes. Okay, so the reason why, let me see. G4. So then I would make me look bad. So what? He has to play knight f6, right? Let's just say. Oh, what if he tries? Well, then we can just retreat. So knight f6, and then knight takes. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So why didn't I just play g4 is a good question. And I don't have a good answer for that. All right, so g4. Yeah, I want to make him suffer, I guess. I don't know. Bishop takes c4. e5. So now Preston trying to do like I did in the first match, right? He's safe. Well, he's not really safe, but he is castled. So he needs to break open the center so he can get some counterplay here. So now I am kind of afraid. I don't want to take here. So I kind of give in to him, which is a big mistake. Let's see what the computer says I should do here. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. So they like Jim's move, g4, and they also like e5. They probably hate what I play, though. It's not coming up, obviously. So I play knight takes f7, and then after rook takes f7, I get scared, check. Rook takes f7, pawn takes e5. His rook is in a pin, so he's got to get out of that. So king to g7, so take, take. And now we're in an endgame, but I'm much better, right? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. He's only got 5, and I got a rook to a knight. So I still like my chances, but I'm not going to checkmate him, though. All right, so rook to c1. So sometimes it's probably bad to overestimate an opponent's attack. All right, thank you. All right, so now I do, all right? But it doesn't have the same bite because he can actually, he decides to be weak and go to g7. I get the pawn. King to g8. Rook to h6 attacks this pawn. King to f7, hoping I repeat. Rook to c6, double up on this pawn. Knight to e6. Rook to h7, check. And he does not want to trade rooks, so he decides to go back. And now how can I finish off the game? Yeah, the immortal pawn fork, okay? Yep, pretty close. So e6 check, and the game's over, and now I win the championship. So watch out for those pawn forks for sure. All right, guys? All right. Thank you. Yay, yay.